Now, you know what? I always get people talking about, I love Tariq Nasheed, but there's some things that I don't agree with 100%. And we're going to talk about what these cats do not agree with. Let me put on some Mackin music. Can I put on some Mackin music real quick? Hold on. Let me put some Mackin music on. But a lot of times, man, when people mention my name, people say, I love the Tariq Nasheed show. I love listening to the Mac Lessons radio show. But the brothers, and I notice this from brothers, not the white boys. The white folks, they'll say, hey, I listen to Tariq and I agree with everything this guy's saying. He's on point 100%. But a lot of brothers will say, I agree with 90% of what Tariq has to say. I don't agree 100%, but 90% of the time he's on point. This is what the brothers say. So what's that little 10% that they're not agreeing with me about? Let's talk about that 10% that these brothers have a problem with. This is exactly what it is. A lot of these dudes who don't agree with me 100%, they don't agree with my stance on chubby chasing dudes. In the past, I've been very critical about guys chasing overweight women. I've been very critical about that, and my stance has always been black men don't chase overweight women. It's broke men that chase overweight women. And a lot of brothers, they have a problem with that statement. And we're going to delve into that. Right now, we're going to focus on the chubby chasing brothers out there, all the chubby chasing dudes out there, because we have a whole epidemic of chubby chasing dudes. See, I've gotten on the women. See, because I got 2 emails recently. That's what made me want to do this show. I got an email from a dude and I got an email from a girl who happened to be overweight. The email from the guy was like, hey Flex, man, you need to do a show getting on all these women about being overweight. You need to get on their cases about being overweight. You need to check them and see what's going on with that. And my answer to this guy was, I don't need to get on the women. The women are going to do what they can do. It's not the women really at fault. I mean, the women are at fault. Let me say that. But some of the blame and a lot of the blame is on the guys. And I've done a show about overweight women before, overweight black women and all that. I talked about the statistics of 70% of black women overweight. I've done that many times before. But let's focus on the dudes, because the guys, you brothers, have a lot to do with this, man. I got another email from a lady. Let me pull that up real quick. She was like, I'm a big girl needing dating advice. She said, what's up, Tariq? After a bad breakup, I gained weight and I stayed away from dating. I'm not as big as the TV star Monique, and I love Monique, by the way, but I'm too big to shop in the skinny girls department, but I'm too small to shop in the fat girls department. She said, I have a decent job. I have a middle income. I live in an expensive and large city. I'm assuming New York somewhere. In my 20s, I used to date professional men when I was in my 20s and thin. Now that I'm overweight and I'm 30, I seem to be approached by broke men, needy men, and men with emotional problems and thugs. I want to date high quality men again. So should I get my finances in order? Should I start hitting up the gym? What should I do first? So fellas, the thing is, a lot of women, they are starting, and this was a very honest female. I applaud my young lady for being very honest here. That was a very honest email she sent. A lot of women are still in denial about it because a lot of guys allow them to be in denial about the overweight girl epidemic out here in the game. You dig what I'm saying? So the thing is, a lot of women are starting to acknowledge that they are attracting less than standard men by being overweight. A lot of folks don't want to hear this. A lot of people want to put their head in the sand and ignore the elephant in the room. No pun intended. But fellas, women are followers by nature. See, the thing is, a lot of guys are afraid to lead the women. Even if women are bossy, fellas, man, women will subconsciously follow the lead of the men's mindset that's in her vicinity. So however the guys think and whatever their mindset is, the women are going to follow. So if the dude's in her community have high standards, she's going to have high standards. If the dudes in her community have low standards, she's going to keep her standards low too. See, you have to remember, man, the term thick that's been going around lately, this term that's thrown around indiscriminately, that's a term that broke black men came up with. That's a broke black man's term, thick. It wasn't the women who came up with that bullshit. Women just heard it and ran with it. But it was you brothers who came up with that thick shit. Now, back in the day, in the 80s, thick meant something different. Thick was just a slim or in-shape female with a nice ass. I'm like, damn, she's thick. Back in the 80s, the thickest woman that guys would go for was Jack A from the show 227. That was the thickest guys would give props to back in the 80s. Now, shit, she would be considered malnutritioned by today's standards. See, again, man, that whole term thick was something that a lot of dudes, man, they came up with this term to make themselves and make these fat females feel better. Because, see, a lot of guys, man, when they started to lower their standards, they start laying up with these chubby chicks, so they had to rationalize doing it. You know, you get up from banging a heifer, and then you have to say to yourself, damn, what is wrong with me? I'm banging fat bitches. Then you have to rationalize, well, she ain't really that fat. She ain't that. She's kind of big bone. Remember that? People were using big bone for a minute, but that didn't sound right. Well, she's kind of chunky. She's kind of tubby. She's kind of curvy. She's kind of thick. Thick was a perfect term for them. Thick don't sound that bad. So a lot of cats ran with thick. And they start telling these women, hey, baby, guess what? You ain't fat. You are thick. Don't you feel better about that? Because I do. Now give me some of that pussy. Well, let's just bring it back to reality. These motherfuckers are not thick that you niggas are chasing right now. They're 5 ham sandwiches past thick. I mean, let's keep this thing 110. These overweight women right now are not thick, fellas. They're a result of your low-ass standards. A lot of black men have lowered their standards, unfortunately. That's what it's a result of. I said this a million times, but let's talk about your standards, brothers. Let's talk about why your standards are so low. Not all my players. There's some players out there that's still getting dimes. There are some players out there that's still representing, but let's not fail to acknowledge all these chubby chasing niggas out here that's hemmed up with these heifers. I know I'm sounding real rough, and some of it might sound very mean and mean. It's not mean-spirited. This is all love. This is all love, player. There was a quote that I put up on my Twitter page a few days ago. I think it was a quote by Norman Vincent Peale. It was a quote saying that a lot of people would rather suffer from compliments than to be saved by criticism. Let me repeat that, because I want that to sink in. Ladies, a lot of people would rather suffer from compliments than to be saved by criticism. Basically, that means you would rather sit up and just get fat as hell by a bunch of thirsty niggas giving you props than have a real dude give you some constructive criticism to get yourself together. Because when I used to talk about this a couple of years ago on the show, what I'm saying is nothing new. I've been talking about it for the last 3 years. Oh, I was the Antichrist. Oh, fuck Tariq. Oh, that nigga ain't shit. He don't know what he's talking about. Oh, he's mean. He's this, he's that. But I'm saying this trying to be constructive. So, like I said, man, a lot of these brothers, man, their dating choices, their low standards are based on their low standards as far as themselves. A lot of brothers out here, not all, but a lot of brothers have a social fear. Brothers having no standards right now is a result of social fear. See, we all want to show courage. We all want to do things productively and proactively. But the thing is, society has always told, American society, let me be specific. Society has always told black men what they can't do. You can't do this, you can't go to this school, you can't live in this neighborhood. You know, back in the day before the 1960s, they were very blatant about it. You know, they would have the signs and no colors here. All those signs and all those segregation laws were really specifically for black men. Black women had to abide by them as well, but black women were not a threat. See, a lot of black women were allowed in certain places still because they were domestic servants and things of that nature. So a lot of black women in small numbers were somewhat included, but black men were totally excluded. And again, back in the day, it was totally blatant. You couldn't drink from this water fountain. You can't piss and shit in this bathroom. You can't have this job. You can't do this. So a lot of it now is institutionalized. They don't have to have the signs in front of the door saying that you're not allowed. It's already in the subconscious psyche of the collective community. And a lot of brothers feel this way now. So a lot of cats are like, well, why should I even try to be successful at certain things? Let me just aim low. Let me aim low as far as getting my money. I don't want to fail. If I try, it's already set up against me. So if I try, most likely I'm going to fail. So I just aim low. I'll sell weed. I'll be a rapper. I'll try to be an athlete. And I'll fuck fat bitches. But they're not really fat. They're thick. See, the thing is, you got to think like a hustler, man. A hustler had to go around all that shit. The hustlers knew that they had obstacles, but that made them better hustlers. And I'm going to do some more shows. A lot of cats want me to talk about the hustle game a little more. And I'm going to have some shows coming up talking about the hustle game and how to be a thorough hustler. That's going to be coming up soon because a lot of brothers need to know the game. And I've done a few shows about hustling. But again, the hustlers, the real hustlers would look at all the social challenges and they would step up to the plate and they would keep their standards high. But see, a lot of brothers now, man, they don't get to show their courage in that way. The only way they can show their courage is by acting aggressively towards other black men in a negative way. And again, keeping those standards very, very low. You dig what I'm saying? So, brothers, it's really time to step your game up. A lot of these women want to have themselves together. A lot of these women don't want to sit around with these big ass bellies and their back all wide and thighs rubbing together. They don't want to do that shit. A lot of women are just waiting on you fellas to step your game up. A lot of times, man, these women, y'all demotivate them. A lot of women are like, hey, I want to go to the gym. Y'all like, you don't need to go to no gym. What you need to go to the gym for? See, a lot of you dudes, you want your woman fat and out of shape because if she gets fly, you scared another nigga to take her. I've heard that a lot. I've heard that a lot from women. Women want to get themselves out there and hit the gym and eat right. But y'all niggas are stuffing pie and goodies and treats in her damn mouth because you don't want her to step her game up. You dig what I'm saying? The woman is always a reflection of you. The woman is always a reflection of you. I put out a tweet the other day. A raggedy female is a reflection of a raggedy dude. I'm gonna repeat that again. If y'all saw that tweet I put out the other day, I drop a lot of game on Twitter every now and then. But a raggedy female is a result of a raggedy dude. And now in our community, in the black community, man, the standards now have just become extremely low about everything. Everything is like a parallel universe. Everything is ass backwards. I was looking at Tyra Banks the other day, and they had like this skinny black girl who was getting teased for being in shape. All the kids at her school were basically fat, and they were teasing her for being skinny. Ain't that a bitch? It was on Tyra the other day. This girl, she wasn't even skinny. She was a regular sized girl. Like she was like 16, 17. She's like, oh, I get hell when I go to school. Then they brought out these big two heifers. Like, yeah, she's just too bony for us to hang with. I'm like, ain't that a bitch? I mean, our shit is so ass backwards in the black community right now. Ass backwards. So again, man, a lot of brothers, man, they pump these women's heads up telling them that they're thick, that they're curvy. And a lot of these women know that it's bullshit, but the thing is, to overcompensate for not having their physical game together, a lot of these chubby women will put on this false swagger. They'll have this false attitude, this extra diva-like mentality. That's why I always say a lot of women who consider themselves divas or call themselves divas are usually old women, overweight women, or drag queens. But they know that their physical look ain't in order, so they create this diva bullshit to overcompensate. And a lot of dudes who know that they ain't dating nothing but heifers, they have this extra macalicious vibe. So you have a lot of chubby chasing dudes and a lot of overweight women walking around now with all this false swagger. That's the problem that I have. See, the thing is, if you want to date an overweight chick, and if you want to be an overweight chick, that's cool. But all this swag that you motherfuckers got, you the loudest one in the room. You coming in the room, you popping body. I mean, you just acting real fly, and the dude is acting like the Mac of the year. All right, that's what I have a problem with. That's why let me bring you down a little bit. That's the whole purpose of this. Because if it was some humble shit, if it was just on a humble vibe, you're just a dude, you got your little chubby bra that you're just laying low with. All right, that's cool. That's cool. Make it do what it do. You got your little chubby bra lady, you got your little broke dude, you're happy, that's cool in the game. But when you got this vibe that what you're doing is normal and everybody else is fucked up, being overweight is cool, skinny women ain't shit, and dudes who date dimes for real, you hate on us, that's when I have a problem. That's why I get on these cats. These cats act like I don't know what I'm talking about. And these dudes are very defensive about these big girls now. You go to certain websites, man, these dudes are posting up fat broads, fantasizing about these fat broads. And my thing is, dude, you can't act like the Mac of the year. You can't act like the world's biggest player, and your bitch looks like Precious from the new movie that's coming out. How you gonna pop your collar and you rolling like that? Yeah, I know that was sounding fucked up, but it is what it is. So a lot of broke dudes, and I get this email a lot. A lot of guys are like, man, Flex, how can, if a dude ain't got no money, how they gonna get dimes? Don't the dimes only want dudes with money? A lot of guys have that mentality. A lot of you guys have that mentality. That's why the minute you get any money, you run your ass to the strip joint and throw your money at the first halfway decent looking female you see. The minute you get your check cashed, you run down to the strip joint and you make it rain on the first halfway decent looking woman that you see. Because a lot of cats get confidence from tricking. They get confidence from money. And you don't really have to have money to have confidence, man. Confidence should always be there. Because if you are depending on money for your confidence, whenever you don't have money, your standards are going to go right back being low. See, confidence is about the knowledge that you have. And I'm going to do some shows about that too. I'm going to have to do a whole thing about that. And in the new book that I have coming out, the new book, by the way, is called The Elite Way. The 10 rules that men need to know about dealing with women. That's the name of the book. The book is going to be out in December. And I have a whole chapter talking about confidence, false confidence, how to build confidence. I'm breaking all that stuff down. Real deep game. But a lot of dudes, man, they feel like if they don't have no money, they're not going to have no confidence to get no dime. Confidence is based on knowledge that you have. That's why you learn a skill, you learn a trade, you learn a hustle. Because once you know you can make some paper, you'll have confidence in your knowledge of making that paper. Not the paper itself, because a lot of niggas who have the scam artist, smash and grab mentality, they don't know where their next dollar's going to come from. So when they get some money, the confidence is through the roof. Or when they rent a car or whatever, the confidence is through the roof. Because they don't know how to accumulate no paper. That's why you see a lot of rich dudes who are real low key. They're not flossing, they're not flashing, because they know how to get money. They got money. They know how to get money. there was this story about this millionaire that I talked about on Ustream. I did a Ustream show, and I'm going to do a Ustream show later on tonight, so you guys can check that out. Ustream, I don't even know what the URL for that thing is. But you can check my MySpace and my Twitter to check out my Ustream post. I let cats know when I'm going to do a Ustream show. But a few weeks ago, we were talking about hustling, and we were talking about the mentality of having confidence based on knowledge. There was a story that I told, and I read it in a book a while ago, and I'm going to paraphrase it somewhat. There was, back in the 1920s, I think, there was a gentleman who was walking down the street. And his money was fucked up. But, you know, it was like the Depression. I think it was around the Great Depression. But he was walking down the street, and there was an elderly man who was trying to cross the street. So he helped the elderly man across the street. And when he helped the elderly man across the street, the man was like, you know, thank you very much. By the way, I'm John Rockefeller. I'm J.D. Rockefeller, the millionaire. And the guy was like, damn. So the guy was like, you know what? I'm going to give you a check for $5,000. You help me out. I'm going to give you a $5,000 check. So the guy got this $5,000 check from Rockefeller, and the guy was like, shit, I got $5,000 fucking dollars. So what the guy did, he just put the money like a savings account. He just put it up. So I'm not going to touch this. This is going to be money for my rainy day. If something happens, I got this $5,000 I can fall back on. So what happened? The guy used all of his other money to build businesses. He invested in different businesses, and he became very successful. He kept flipping his money, and eventually he became a millionaire. Now later on, he found out that the man he thought was John Rockefeller was really a feeble old man who had just wandered out of the nursing home. So the guy wasn't even Rockefeller. The guy wrote him some bullshit ass check, so the money that was sitting up in this savings account, that $5,000, was invalid. But the thing is, the guy who the Good Samaritan, he didn't know that. See, he thought that he had that backup. He had confidence based on knowledge, even if it was a false knowledge. But he had a knowledge that money was already there and that he would be all right. He had a false knowledge that he had backup money. So he had confidence in that. And he built his wealth based on that confidence. The confidence of knowing that he had money at his disposal. And see, a lot of you cats, man, you have to think the same way. It's not the money. The money should never make you confident, man. It's the knowledge of it and the knowledge of knowing how to get it. That's where your confidence comes in, players. So always step your standards up, yeah. You ain't got to lower your standards just because you ain't got no paper money at your disposal. You're going to get some money if you know how to hustle. That's why you learn how to goddamn hustle. I will do some shows on that pretty soon, but I want you guys just to let that shit seep in.